Welcome into the FanDuel Hurry Up. I'm Ariel Epstein with SportsGrid. I'm joined now by numberFire's Jim Sannes. Jim, I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving. I can't believe we're already here in week 13 of the NFL season.
Yeah, always ready for some more football. It was a pretty fun week 12 because we had a lot of big performances, and those are always exciting because if you have those guys, you get to kind of sweat the entire day knowing you may have, bullets left to fire and stuff like that. So it was a fun week 12 Thanksgiving slate. It's always exciting, and I think we've got some guys to be excited about for the stretch run too. So I'm in a good mood here. How are you doing?
I'm really excited to get your thoughts going into this week 13 slate. I want to start with a running back that didn't really look like a running back this past week. Austin Ekeler, the Chargers running back, led the Chargers with 85 receiving yards, coming off of nearly 8 weeks where he was off with an injury. Jim, why do you like Ekeler going into the week?
Yeah, I think with Austin Ekeler, it was easy to be excited about him to begin with because in his absence, the Chargers running backs really struggled. They churned through Joshua Kelly, Justin Jackson, Kalen Ballage, Tremaine Pope. They tried all these guys to see if anyone could take on that mantle as being the team's lead back, and no one took advantage. But Austin Ekeler came back, and despite not having played, like you said, for 2 months, came back into a full role. He had 14 carries in addition to those 16 targets, and he's not going to get 16 targets every week, but even if you cut those targets in half, 14 carries and 8 targets is still a tremendous workload for a running back, and that's the workload of a guy who could have a salary of like $9,000 on FanDuel. That is how good that role was on Sunday. If he were to duplicate that, it'd be like 10,000, but if we're projecting forward realistically, he's playing like a $9,000 running back. So the floor for Austin Ekeler is amazing because of that. The yardage should be really good week in, week out. You want that for sure. But I think that he also has a path to a ceiling, and that's always the concern with Ekeler. At least it was earlier this year because Joshua Kelly was taking away goal line duties, and Joshua Kelly scored again on Sunday on a short touchdown. We should expect that going forward too. Joshua Kelly is going to vulture Austin Ekeler in fantasy football this year. But Ekeler almost scored on Sunday. He was a half yard short. He had 2 carries and 2 targets inside the 10-yard line. He had 36% of the team's carries or targets inside the red zone. So no, he did not score. And yes, he will still lose some goal line touches to Joshua Kelly. But Ekeler can score because he's good and because he still gets chances in close. So I am really high on Austin Ekeler going forward because he is a featured back on a team that is being led by an efficient quarterback right now in Justin Herbert. And that's really hard to find at this point in the year with guys like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Zeke Elliott not being what they were last year. So I say Austin Ekeler is someone you want to buy high on because that role is amazing. This team is not too bad offensively. And I'd expect that pass catching role to stick. So Austin Ekeler, sure, it feels kind of point chasey to go back to him, but I don't care. The building blocks for him to be a just pure featured back are there, and I'm going to take advantage while we have that at our disposal.
It helps too when all the other running backs in this backfield were essentially getting tried out and none of them prevailed up to Austin Ekeler's status as he was out with that hamstring injury. Let's take a look at another running back, Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team, the NFC East leading Washington football team. This past week, over 100 yards rushing for Gibson. How do you think that Gibson continues these ways going into week 13?
Yeah, I know that Antonio Gibson has been doing good stuff for a long time now, but we did still see a role change for him on Sunday because he got a lot more just touches, a lot more opportunities than he has in the past. Specifically in the passing game, he had 7 targets in addition to his 20 carries in week 12. That was on a 65% snap rate, which tied his season high. So I think that when you add the number of targets he got with the carries and the snap rate, this is the best workload we've seen Antonio Gibson get the entire year. That's a good thing. That's a bump up for his floor. The ceiling was already there for Gibson because he was getting a lot of red zone work for this Washington offense. He has 31% of the team's carries or targets in the red zone from week 2 on, and we saw him score 3 times on Sunday or on Thursday. So we know that he can do these things on a pretty regular basis. The other thing that's fun for Washington, like you mentioned, they are in contention. They are pushing for a playoff spot somehow in the NFC East. And when you're in that situation, you're going to ride your best players. And Antonio Gibson, outside of Terry McLaurin, is their best player. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Washington to continue to make Antonio Gibson the focal point in this backfield, and that's going to lead to a lot of volume. And if we see volume similar to what he got on Thursday, he's going to be a guy we can use despite the fact his offense is not that good. Now, things could be kind of rough in week 13 because they do face the Pittsburgh Steelers there. But after that, it could be, rocket ship emojis for Antonio Gibson if he keeps on getting a workload like this. And I see no reason to expect that to change. So Antonio Gibson, great game on Thursday, and a lot of reasons to expect similar stuff for him going forward after that Steelers matchup.
Especially going up against the Steelers team who we would think is going to play the Baltimore Ravens. So maybe you get a little bit of a hangover from all of this COVID craziness going on in Pittsburgh. The San Francisco 49ers are coming off an upset win over the Los Angeles Rams. They got healthy. Their wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, is back from a hamstring injury. Samuel, 133 receiving yards against the Rams. Jim, how come you like Samuel again going back-to-back weeks?
Yeah, Deebo Samuel, I think, is intriguing because we want wide receivers who get rush attempts. And that may sound really stupid, but it's valuable because just because they can score points on those rush attempts, but also because it tells us the team wants the ball in their hands. And they got the ball in Deebo Samuel's hands a lot on Sunday. He had 11 targets in that game. And yeah, a lot of those targets are bunny targets. We're not getting a lot of downfield looks. He's not going to be Tyreek Hill, but there's safety in those bunny targets too. And with Deebo, it's also a different equation because he has so much after the catch ability, kind of like A.J. Brown, where he can turn a short pass into a long gain, which he's done throughout his entire career with the 49ers. So I don't really care too much that he's not getting downfield looks. I just want the overall volume and his talent as a pass catcher as well. Now, we will see Deebo lose some looks once Brandon Ayuk is back. Ayuk did not play on Sunday. But George Kittle isn't going to be back here very soon, so there's going to be a lot of targets for Deebo Samuel even when Ayuk is back, and he'll still get those rush attempts as well. That's easy to like, even in an offense that's not that great. I'm not going to expect great quarterback play for the 49ers by any means, but you don't really need it when the targets that Samuel is getting are the kind that he is getting right now. So I think that Samuel is the kind of receiver I like to target. He is a guy who gets rush attempts, he gets safe targets, but also has the ability to convert on those targets as well and turn a short play into a big one. So Deebo Samuel, the focal point of this 49ers offense, and I think that makes him play for DFS even without a lot of downfield looks in his repertoire.
I love the rushing yards angle, especially because the Bills are bottom 10 in the league against the run this season. Maybe you do see a big run from the wide receiver of the 49ers in Deebo Samuel. Thanks so much, Jim Sanis from numberFire. I'm Ariel Epstein with SportsGrid. We'll see you again soon right here on the FanDuel Hurry Up.